What's good, Commanders fans? So we have made some hirings here. This one is per Nikki Javala, also per Ben Stanek. I think they put this out first. Actually, it was Tom Pelissero, NFL writer and insider. He said this first. So let me pull up the tweet here. But basically, we hired OG Bobby Johnson. I know everybody's going to say that. That's going to be the running joke. OG Bobby Johnson. Everybody knows the song, remembers the song, OG Bobby Johnson for sure. They hired Bobby Johnson as their offensive line coach. And good news, Ryan Kerrigan is staying as their assistant linebackers coach / pass rush specialist, source confirmed. So he will not be the defensive line coach, but he will be there as the linebackers coach and assistant linebackers coach and pass rush specialist. So that is good to keep a Ring of Fame skin / commander in the building, keep him in the building. We all remember the HBK and the multiple games where he had 2 or more sacks, where he would end the season. He would have like 3 or 4 sacks, and like one game we have 2 sacks, one game we have 3 sacks, and one game you end up like 4 sacks, and the other games we have like 0 sacks. But that's my guy. I love Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan was a beast. He was a dog, all that stuff. So perennial Pro Bowler, professional, always stayed healthy for the most part. So it's always good to have him in the building. The guys love him. Unfortunately, guys got traded. And Chase Young had a good game yesterday. Like Chase Young, guys, like they call him a dude. They love Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan, when he was in the last couple of years of his career, he had some really good games. He had like a 5-sack season or a 6-sack season when Chase Young was a rookie and Montez Sweat was in his like sophomore or third year. He was still getting to the quarterback. Like he was still a good rotational pass rusher. Then unfortunately went to the Eagles, but you know, it is what it is on that. And he came back here. Always welcome back to DC or Landover, Maryland. And he's going to be staying here as a coach, respectfully. And hopefully he can get the best out of KJ Henry and some of the guys that we'll be drafting, because we need a defensive end badly. And hopefully we can get the best out of Jamin Davis and some new linebackers that we're going to be bringing in. Jabril Cox, we'll see what happens, because Dan Quinn has a connection, of course, with Jabril Cox. You know, since Jabril Cox was in Dallas. So we'll see if Dan Quinn can get the best out of him too. But yeah, let's talk about Bobby Johnson. Let's talk about the good. There's a lot of mixed reviews on Bobby Johnson. If you listen to Giants fans, they'll tell you he's the worst coach in the world. And some of the numbers kind of back that, to be honest with you. I remember the game that we lost to Tommy DeVito, but, you know, they gave up, what it was, like 8 sacks? Or Tommy DeVito got sacked like 8, 9 times, and he still won the game. It was like historical how bad we were, but how bad the Giants' offensive line was to give up that many sacks. And some of that was on Tommy DeVito too, holding to the ball too long. But for him to get sacked that much and still win the game, it's still kind of bad on the offensive line and the offensive line coach as well, for them to give up and allow that many sacks. Now, let's talk about the good here with the Bills. Coach Josh Allen, or was coached the Bills while Josh Allen was there, and then was there with Brian Daboll. And then Brian Daboll brought OG Bobby Johnson to the Giants with him. So that's the connection there. That's how he ended up with the Giants. He just got fired by the Giants because of the performance. You know, you look at Andrew Thomas, he's been good, but Evan Neal has not been good. He's not been able to develop Evan Neal. I think the guy's name is John Michael Schmitz, who played on the offensive line for the Giants. He was underwhelming this year too. So there's a lot of reasons backing the data to fire Bobby Johnson. So let's get into Bobby Johnson. Some of the good here. He was an offensive tackle at Miami, Ohio. 25 years of coaching experience between the college and NFL ranks. In 2019, he oversaw a rebuilt offensive line that included 4 new starters during the 2019 season. That year, the Bills' offensive line finished with an 85.9 pass blocking grade, or pass blocking efficiency rating, which was 17th in the league per Pro Football Focus. Also, in the 2020 season, the Bills' offensive line finished tied for 10th in pass blocking efficiency rating, 86.8. As well. So, Buffalo, they allowed only 198 pressures, which was 8th fewest in the league, and their 27 sacks surrendered were the 2nd fewest allowed in the league year, in the last league year, behind Tampa Bay with 23. So those are some pretty good numbers with Buffalo, and that's why he got the job with the Giants. Now, was some of that just on Josh Allen playing better and getting rid of the ball quickly, or evading the rush and be able to scramble and be a dual threat quarterback, or was some of that on the offensive line being good and Bobby Johnson coaching up their offensive line? So that's the question on that. Now let's get to the bad with the New York Giants here. They allowed the 2nd most sacks in NFL history with 85 in the season. The first worst is the Eagles, was like 104 a bunch of years ago. Also, Evan Neal was 2nd worst. He had the 2nd worst pass blocking efficiency his rookie season, and then he had the 5th worst pass blocking efficiency his second year. Now, is that on Evan Neal or is that on Bobby Johnson? Bobby Johnson, you got to get the best out of your player, especially a first-round pick. And Evan Neal was so bad to the point where the fans were just, you know, going in on him. And then he responded to the fans and saying the fans don't know anything. That's just how bad Evan Neal was last year. Saquon Barkley averaged 3.9 yards a carry last year. Is that on the offensive line? Other backs averaged 2.6 yards a carry. They were 45th out of 48 in success rate. Other backs, yeah, like I said, averaged 2 yards a carry. 64% of Saquon's games were under 4 yards a carry. That was the worst in his career. So a lot of bad numbers for Bobby Johnson for sure. He also was quoted to say, "We are not developing players. We are preparing them for next week." So you always got to think about developing players, not just saying we're preparing for the next game. I get what he's saying, but a lot of people have problems with that quote and that answer that he had in an interview, that we're not developing players. We're just preparing them for the next week. And a lot of it is about development, man. It really is. And, but you gotta have that happy medium and do it at the same time. Develop players and get them ready for the next game too. So I understand what he was trying to say. Also, yeah, John Michael Schmitz, for centers, PFF grades and ranks amongst all qualifying centers. Pass blocking, he had a 42.4 grade, which is 29 out of 31 centers. And his run blocking grade was 54.2, which was 29 out of 31 centers. So John Michael Schmitz was not developed well by Bobby Johnson either. I want to say he was a second-round pick. So you guys let me know what you guys think about John Michael Schmitz, John Michael Heimer Schmidt. I mean, I'm not John Michael Schmitz, but Bobby Johnson. Yeah, he was the Giants offensive line coach. 20 plus years of coaching experiences as well. So we get another NFC East hire. Of course, we got a couple Cowboys guys. Now we got we got a Giants guy in the building. And, so we got a bunch of NFC East hires, a lot of NFC East family type of hires here. So, you look at the full frame of the coaching staff hires. I think they've been pretty darn good for the most part. Of course, Cliff Kingsbury at offensive line. I like that a lot. I like that hire a lot. Joe Witt Jr., I think he's a good hire for sure, but we just don't know 100% yet because we have not seen him in a defensive coordinator role or a head coaching role like we've seen Cliff Kingsbury in offensive coordinator roles. We've seen him in a head coaching role, so we've seen more of a resume from Cliff Kingsbury. Jason Simmons a good hire, but of course we wanted Al Harris first. But I do think Jason Simmons is a good hire, and the special teams coach, I think that was a heck of a hire. With the Seahawks, he was with the Seahawks and with the Patriots, and then in his playing career, he was a heck of a special teams player as well. So, I think for the most part, they've been good hires. Of course, it's still up in the air. It's a lot to be seen until they touch the field and play actual games. But I am always going to be cautiously optimistic with this new regime, but it's nothing but up from here. We have a legitimate general manager and Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, who's a leader of men, like we've talked about, the cliche, but he has a decorated resume where he's been to the Super Bowl. And I think he's going to get the best out of guys, especially where he does not have to, you know, pick the players and stuff. We have a legitimate front office structure right now instead of what it was last year with Ron Rivera basically being coach centric. So that's why I'm cautiously optimistic. I will talk about the quarterback situation in the draft. Mike Garafolo had some comments about us, and Adam Schefter some comments about trading up and whatnot. I do want to make a separate video about that maybe later today or tomorrow. So you guys let me know what you guys think. Health Commanders, peace.